Yeah, exactly.
Capital Zoning Board meeting. Let's convene the meeting and, first order of business is approval of the minutes of March 23rd. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, carried unanimously. I'm going to recommend, and I'm gonna not ask for a motion to do it either, it's bold, to change the agenda. We're gonna have, because we have some people leaving for, public responsibilities, jury duty, we're gonna do the finance, so we'll move number 3 first. And, Andy's gonna take that. Is that correct, Andy?
Yes.
All right, great.
Yes. Thank you, Jim. Sorry, everyone, for the change. So for your consideration are the Q1 2025 financial schedules beginning on page 9. We do a narrative overview, some specific takeaways, and then a brief review of the investment portfolio reporting. We are working with Breakpoint to further refine the materials that are in front of you now. That is an iterative process for sure, but we hope that we're making improvements towards where the finance committee and the board is. Q1 2025, the organization delivered somewhat of a mixed financial performance relative to the budget, characterized by prudent cost management and positive balance sheet growth, offset by underperformance of program revenues, but again, seasonalities are impacted. Despite posting an overall net loss, key indicators such as net operating results and cash flow came in ahead of expectations, demonstrating strong expense control over operational expenses. For Q1, operating revenue reached $353,000, that's 6% of our budget. This reflects a decline from Q1 24, although there was some anomalous activity with some colleagues and grants receipts. Expense management shown as a strength, expenses coming in at $374 or 25% of the budget, primarily driven by lower than expected salaries and plan utilization and professional fees. So cost control led to an operating loss of $20,500, but a market improvement from where the budgeted figure was. Program activity, again, largely a function of seasonality. Approximately 150,000, representing 14% of the annual budget, and drive largely from rent receipts for lot and building rights. Meanwhile, program expenses were approximately 171,000, primarily from larger than expected insurance premium payments, as well as annual property tax obligations. This match led to a net program loss of approximately $20,000, creating an unfavorable variance relative to budget expectations. But again, we are early in there. There are some seasonalities involved, and we expect a return to financial normalcy as the year progresses. After accounting for depreciation and program activity, we reported an overall net loss of $41,000. But the balance sheet remains strong. Assets increased moderately to $24.9 million year over year, driven largely from the $2.35 million gain on property holdings, while they dropped significantly from 4.2 to 2.6. Several reasons for that. One, again, being the court bond retirement last year. So we have an overall $2 million year-over-year rise in net position, now at approximately $21.2 million. Cash flow from operations, $73,000, reversing a previous negative trend. Despite minimal investment activity and modest capital expenditures, the quarter ended with a net cash inflow of $58,000 approximately. Raising total cash and cash equivalents to approximately $4.2 million. Some key takeaways: we outperformed budget expectations on operating income, largely due to expense control and investment gains. Program revenues below target, but expected to return to normalcy as the fiscal year progresses. The overall revenue decreased year over year, reflecting one-time events in Q1 2024. Balance sheet continues to strengthen, particularly with real estate investments and liability reductions. Return to positive cash flow will provide more financial flexibility as the year progresses. So solid foundation, expected to hit our budget marks throughout this year. Brief overview of the investment portfolio. Page 16. You'll see for the first time what we're trying to do here is provide a consolidated view of the entirety of the organization's resources. So on page 19, you'll see what represents a consolidation of operating accounts and investment accounts. So we're trying to give a holistic view of the organization's resources, due to response to some additional information and some visual from the finance committee. So again, quarter to date, beginning value $10.2 million. That reflects the inclusion of the operating cash. Portfolio $10.2 million overall, we consider operating. Quarter to date return, we are down 3 basis points, but 12-month return, we are 5.2 net of fees. Since inception, 2.4 net of fees on an annualized basis. Strong conservative allocation, primarily cash and money market accounts and investment grade bonds. There are nominal allocations to equity, both in and domestic, and then CDs and other short-term cash and commercial paper investments represent the portfolio. Top 10 holdings, about 22% of portfolio, treasury mini notes, government cash reserve, and high corporate bonds. Over the next 12 months, we project investment income receipts of approximately $175,000, with an average coupon between 5%. This relative, not to use equities as a benchmark for performance, but we did surpass the S&P for the first quarter, although we did fell short of the bond aggregate index, which is a 2-benchmark. Going forward, this reporting will show not only the holistic kind of 30,000 foot view of the organization's resources, but the sub portfolios of the liquidity and reserve accounts and the benchmarks for the same. So we want to give kind of a dashboard view, drill down. Alicia and Bob are working on that revised report. We should be able to have that for the next quarter and board meeting. Low duration, 1.7 years, and heavy allocation to high grade investment banks, AAA, A1 and above. Diversified issuers, Amazon, MasterCard, JP, the Alphabet Group, and highly liquid and conservative, and focused on principal preservation and income generation. Key tenants. And we were able to confirm, Richard, that the fee structure we discussed in the last committee was adequate. Comments, questions, concerns, feedback, takeaways.
Any questions on the quarterly performance or the financial report from Rachel?
You mind just one question? It wouldn't be a quarter without me asking. Did you say that all of the bonds for the port have been retired?
Yes.
So what is our standing now? What do we own?
Well, I believe it's a lease back, which expired in 27 for the landing. So I think the agreement is in place, but the debt that underpins it has been retired.
Yes,
Right.
that's.
But I'm sorry, dumb it down for me. Do we own any? Do we own anything?
We're the leasehold interest, so we don't own anything. We're the leasehold interest. The port covers all the expenses, the operating
Okay,
expenses.
and then once that lease expires,
And we're out.
we're out.
Yeah.
And so are we taking in lease payments now?
There are no lease payments.
Okay. Okay,
So there's no value to the lease.
but the lease payments were coming in, which covered the debt.
Cover the debt.
Right. So it was revenue neutral. It was offset. Expensive revenue.
Okay,
Although never-
so how did the lease payments stop?
The rent was equal to the amount of financing. That's how it was structured.
There were prepayments issued over the last 2 years, which covered
Okay.
the retirement.
And so did the lease end at the same time that the payments ended? It sounds like they're not in sync.
You're absolutely correct. Yes, so there's a lease term that continues to run. The rent has been prepaid at this point.
Or prepaid.
Well, because the debt was paid off ahead of time. Yes.
Okay,
They did an advanced refunding.
okay, got it. Thank you. Thanks. I can leave the board now. I've asked that question.
Michael, do we have
15 years,
clarity?
I can go now.
Do we have clarity on that transaction? I still don't, but that's okay.
I don't know, I guess.
I just think it's interesting. I mean, so they prepaid the debt and they accelerated the
They did.
lease payment.
Yeah.
What's interesting, the staff did a good job on this, is they prepaid everything, right, boom, and then I think they gave us a bill shortly thereafter for something, and then we politely pointed out, well, no, you have all the operating expenses and insurance and all that is very clearly on the port side, and they did ultimately come to that.
So who owns the property now? I mean, my interest was in the
City,
property. I thought,
actually. The city is the owner of the, there's a lot of boxes when you look at the chain of the title here.
but it's valuable.
City.
It's like super valuable property.
It is, the problem with it is there's a reverter clause on it.
Right.
And if you do anything of a proprietary nature, I believe of the word, it reverts back to the Department of Transportation.
Right. And that was the thing that I'd always suggested that we asked them to take it away,
Yeah.
even, and I'm guessing they don't even know what's there. But that would allow that to really be accreted to the city and
Yeah.
economic development, if we could do that. But the issue, as I recall, was if anything commercial and and that triggers the reverter. clause.
They took a very conservative view, the state did on that. Yeah,
Shocker.
But an act of the legislature could change that.
right? Yeah, I'm sure it could, and DOT, I think, has some discretion, although I don't want to speak for them, they may say no, we don't know.
But isn't a component of that, the money came from that FHWA restrictions,
It
not,
could be, John,
not the
I don't know that.
It was for the Skyway, so it's possible.
Yeah. but this is an administration that might be inclined to say, oh yeah, we want
I guess they
to
didn't
free
use the
people up to do whatever they want. on
allocation.
their property.
I mean, it can't
Possible
hurt
was
to ask,
77.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do we have to lose?
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
let's-
we paid for these bonds for 30 years, kind of.
Yeah.
Sort of.
It's the money that was spent building 787 that was used to acquire the land is where the restrictions come in, I believe.
Okay.
But it is, they will have the same issue with, the redesign of 787, and I know commercial redevelopment is a big piece of
Yeah,
what they want to get out of that, so.
I think we should at least find out what because anything can be changed. Federal, state, everything can be changed. So,
We can talk about this in executive session a little more.
Yeah.
I think, council advisor. And, it'd be interesting, I don't know if the consultant for the state is gonna take this up as an issue as they look at redevelopment of downtown. It'd be interesting to look at potential economic impact of, modifying that reverter clause and thinking about that differently as they think about the redevelopment of 787 discussion.
Yeah.
That's, and if we could be adamant to that, would be important. I think. Any more questions for Andy? So I'll start to you. Nice presentation. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Great question.
Yeah. Not guilty.
Yeah.
That's kindness. All right, next, we're gonna go back to 2, report of the executive staff, but first, are we gonna introduce the new people at the table, and I just started with that, and I didn't start with that, and I guess.
It's a little bit. So if we could get to that slide, we do have Kaylee Hogan as her sitting at the table. We hired Kaylee to start as a senior economic developer here. Kaylee started yesterday, so she's almost as new with the organization. And she came to us from Lincoln, Nebraska. She previously worked for the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development there as a director of talent strategy. Correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. And so she will be a great asset in addition to the corporation.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. So I look forward to getting to know all of you much better.
We're always interested too, and how, you know, we're a great capital city with a great university center. And I'm sure there's things that happen in Lincoln that are interesting and dynamic, and I wonder, you know, it'll be exciting to learn from that and see what we can replicate. There's all sorts of templates around the country of important cities leveraging their universities, and something that we've talked a lot around this table, and I think we can do more of, so that's exciting to have you here.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And so a nice segue into this, since Kaylee will be working with CAC in terms of business development. is that we launched the city's small business facade improvement program on April first. It wasn't an April Fool's, it really was. We have the application live now. The deadline is May 14th at 3 p.m. Lots of steady interest. I know the Central Avenue bid director did walk flyers around the district, sent them all out. I think Anthony said about 100 flyers out. The downtown bid joined the announcement as well as Central Avenue to make that program announcement. We have also been working with some of the neighborhood groups. Cassidy participates in the weekly South End Community Collaborative Zoom call. And I know the flyer was passed around there, and we just last week went to upon request to the Pine Hills Neighborhood Association. So that offer is out there if any neighborhood groups would like us to attend, and we'll be making that runaround, as well as now that we have Kaylee on board to help get her acquainted with the commercial districts and whatnot, and also get the word out about the programs for facade and all the other programs available. They'll be walking the districts and speaking with business owners, trying to get out flyers and things. So quick turnaround on getting out in the neighborhoods, but they still have almost a month left in terms of the application. Staff is available and ready for technical assistance. And we just recently did a live webinar. Thank you to Olivia for tag teaming that with Cassidy. It went excellent. And a big thank you to Cassidy for launching this program virtually independently as an economic developer, without Renee being here at the time and Kaylee on board yet. It's been a big undertaking, so thank you so much for that. And I'm sure you're as eager as anyone to have help.
So what are we hearing from the underground? What's the word in the neighborhoods? What are you hearing out there? Are they aware of what we're doing? Is there awareness of Capitalize Albany?
I think so. I think we have a good level of interest right now. We have a few complete applications. We have a few incomplete applications that are in progress. And Mike has been really great. We've been doing lots of e-blasts and keeping people, doing the digital promotion. But I think the door-to-door is also really impactful, and I think that'll also be a nice experience for the team. So looking forward to that as well.
I encourage you to keep doing that. I think it's super important to get out to the neighborhoods.
And then while we're on the topic of communications and some of the PR efforts, we have relaunched some of the initiatives that we had previously done post-COVID. It's not back to business, Mike, it's all business at this point. So we've been doing some series where we've been doing interviews with grantees. We had a nice Instagram post from Tracy Killar of the South End Children's Cafe. We went out and did an interview with Diane.
Right.
Diane, right?
Scraps 360.
With Bootstraps 360, connecting them also with the media for a potential interview there. Upcoming, there's been a little bit of rescheduling, but really trying to get some opportunities for press engagement, media engagement, and tapping into social media. We also have pulled in the real estate side of things, so I think we've done interviews with Ryan Janko
And Gabe Regan over at
and Gabe Regan at Regan Development. So really trying to emphasize that side of the communications front and get positive news out there as much as we can through our newsletters and social media and all that, and standard traditional media as well. So that's been up and rolling, and if anybody that wants to do an interview, we can take them up. It doesn't have to be existing grantees. It can be just businesses within the community as well. I think next up, we'll just real quickly do the events engagement side of things. You see a picture of Andy, Maria, and I at the annual chamber dinner, looking all fancy. We, on the other side of the house, we will be, a group of us will be participating in the Downtown Business Improvement District's annual Earth Day cleanup later today. So helping out our downtown community, keeping it nice and clean. We are also, as far as events to roll out the week, Equal Vision Records has an event recognizing their expansion and new headquarters at 400
400
I think
now.
it's 260.
260.
Might be big out there.
What building is that?
It's the former Centrotherm building in the south end. It's kind of L-shaped, V-shaped, like it's a very large building, in the south end. As you remember, Steve did come in for our annual event. He was one of our panelists. It was really exciting, to have that business come in. You know, we had a pretty larger employer, that was leaving the district, and relocating because they were a little bit constrained by space in that venue. So to have Equal Vision Records come in substitution for that and really have similar employment in terms of like numbers and things like that and really engage that space is a huge win. So I'm excited to attend that tomorrow. And then rounding out the week, the Albany Business Review is having the Best Real Estate Deals event on Thursday evening, noting that Jenkow Companies is being recognized for Developer of the Year. And the Delaware is also being recognized for interior design, among others within the capital region. I know there's redevelopment is getting recognized for a project in Troy. So a number of familiar faces will be getting some recognition for their projects, so that's exciting as well.
Quick question, what is Equal Vision? What is that? So it's a record company, okay, okay.
Sorry, I buried the lead on that.
So quality records, I like records.
He runs merch now as well, so, band related merch and things like that. So really great, cool business.
And so is it retail or wholesale or like?
They're doing like a vinyl pressing manufacturing operation.
Oh, they are.
And they use that for the bands so they can get their presses out faster. And then they, obviously, as you mentioned, t-shirts, other band merch, things like that. So it's really more manufacturing side there.
Oh, very cool. It's noteworthy.
Yeah.
It was near 100, but I can't say for not top of my head.
How many?
Yeah.
Maybe less. I
That's a
don't know.
huge number.
I don't know if that's true.
That sounds like a. That's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah, and I think previously it was about 30 something FTEs there.
Go figure.
So those are probably not FTE numbers, but we're using, but really great to see that, continue to stay active and Ohio has, with a business owner, I think that's been, engaged in the
Always interesting.
for a while. So that's great.
Right here.
As far as other updates, we did have a membership committee meeting with Dave recently, back in February. It's essentially sort of a preliminary meeting to get some direction on moving ahead with our investor registrations. For the near term, we are launching, we're moving ahead with our standard letter, making the request for our memberships. However, some of the recommendations that staff and the chair of the membership committee came up with is really taking a look at scaling our materials with a professional designer. So really trying to incorporate more collateral to incorporate into that, bring things up a notch from just the typical letter S. So, that could be like a mailing with a card for folks to, provide the membership or donate to the organization. We're also exploring opportunities to add, maybe it's a signature keynote speaker for our annual event or something like that, that shakes things up a little bit from the panelists that we've been doing for a couple of years now, to see if we can drive some new interest and engagement on that event. Also, revisiting whether there are other membership benefits or structure that we could look into, or collateral that we can provide. And we could potentially take a look at our membership structure and revisiting that number.
Do we communicate them outside of their annual renewal? Do they get updates throughout the year?
So they're on all of our newsletter lists and things like that, so they do get, the communications from the organization.
I think we do the annual mailing and then we do follow-ups for folks that haven't, submitted yet on that.
Something specific for the membership outside of please give us money. Would be good. I mean, too often you get your annual renewal, you get the really nice collateral with the annual renewal, please send us money. Like a mid-year summary, thank you for your membership, here's what you enabled in our great city.
Yeah, that would be great. Something we've been looking at is, instead of mailing out our full annual report, if at the end of the year, we could do like a smaller sort of preview thing that we could mail out, a nice little, and that could parallel with your suggestion. This is what you've allowed to accomplish. Yeah, it's not a snapshot of our activities, so we're not mailing out that giant folder, but, having a little snippet of all the activities that they've been able to assist with. So I think that's a work in progress. We're all already moving on a number of those things, engaging with a designer and trying to work forward with that. Getting our headshots redone. Many of us have headshots that are more than a decade old at this point. So trying to recreate, revisit those things.
Find the best young.
Younger, but it's time for a refresh.
Telling Anthony, that's why
So with that, I know the chair has suggested maybe there's an opportunity to consolidate either membership committee with the governance and nominating committee or something of that effect. So that's sort of a working discussion, but that might be something that provides an opportunity to take advantage of a single committee to talk about that as well. And then moving on, we have. I'm still on the appropriations update, but you can, so with Clinton Market, we did execute a contract with, Relentless Awareness for, the Clinton Market Collective. There is an MOU being executed with all parties for site access. Construction reimbursements, we got all but about 27,000 from New York State Department of State. And then we still have the 750,000 from ESD that we're working on by submitting the grant disbursement agreement. But we expect that will be moving forward to reimbursement shortly.
Any issues with that?
No issue there. The DOS one is a little trickier, but we'll get there. There's a retainage, there wasn't a retainage, we paid everything, but they're not quite, understanding sort of how the billing is done on the AIA farm, so we're gonna try to submit a different invoice for additional work and get the payment just resolved. So I think Andy's got a call maybe within this week about it.
Yes.
And then you saw an email from me last week about Alive at 5, there was the media about it. It's an evolving venue, but I think the current thought is that Liberty Park may be off the table, it may be consolidated to a single location, more to come on that. But we've been participating in and engaging as appropriate to try to make that happen. And that change from the riverfront to downtown was really based on a suggestion from the business community in downtown to really, the sentiment is that folks go to Alive at 5 at the riverfront and then leave downtown, so they'd like to see the concert come back on this side of 787, be closer to their businesses and be able to have that opportunity to engage more with them. So I know the downtown bid has been working with the businesses on how they're going to try to take that audience and try to engage them, moving forward for the rest of the evening and get them to enjoy their businesses as well.
Do we want that? Do we want it at Liberty Park?
I don't think so. For me, it's dumb.
I agree.
I didn't say that. I don't think, I just, it's pretty removed from the other businesses. it's not prepared for that kind of a venue. And I don't think it's gonna integrate well personally, so if we could keep it, but, you know, the word I saw was Tricentennial Park might be done sooner, right? Is that correct?
Yes,
So maybe, I think that's good. And to close down the street, that's a lot of fun, and obviously the city's making a big investment in Tricentennial Park. So I think that part's good.
yeah, so with Liberty Park, there was a lot of challenges in terms of the site, obviously, it's not really ready for an event of that caliber. I think there are positives to it in terms of engaging that site in the near term. You know, when there's not renovation, when there's not redevelopment occurring on site and being able to get it used and see people have a vision for the site of getting, you know, having a crowd there and seeing a vision for the future that's not, you know, abandoned parking lots or, well, they're actively used.
They're active parking lots, so you
They're
have
active parking lots,
to, you have
but
to shut them down.
yeah, so there was a lot of logistics that were underway and would still need to be coordinated if that was the case. I think folks saw how much difficulty that may present and I think it, you know, with the Tricentennial Park moving along ahead of schedule, it seems like the ideal location, less hurdles for that. The advantages of having sort of a split venue was you're tapping into some of those businesses near Liberty Park that on that lower Broadway corridor. So many of them are a bit removed from Tricentennial, so they did like the opportunity for that to be engaged in Liberty Park as well. But more to come, more than likely consolidated.
How is Tricentennial Park being funded? What's the source of funding for that?
I actually think the city is funding it. I'm not sure if it's been yet.
I think it's exciting to do. I mean, we should think about connecting, continue connecting those investments with the Clinton Market Collective, Skyway, Waterfront. But it's another connection. It's very.
And actually, I'm just curious, did they look at sites up in the warehouse district versus in the core of downtown?
I'm not aware of them looking at sites in the warehouse.
I'm just thinking that's what a great spot for Live at 5 in the warehouse district.
Yeah.
What I just call the beer district, but
I
the warehouse
agree.
district, be awesome up there to have it Live at 5.
I agree. That's a good idea.
Parking is tough there.
It is tough.
I think it's deeper.
I mean, showcasing some other parts of the city might be a good idea as but we're not 11-5, right? We're not part of the.
No.
We are,
I
yeah,
understand
we
that.
do not make that ultimate
Just a
call,
curiosity
that's a
question.
city
Even behind
program,
Frankie
we were
Bush.
trying
Yeah.
to be
You could
cooperative
set
and
it.
make available a venue for it, knowing that there's limited places you can put that many people, and to bring it across the river, so we were, you know, trying to engage with our, you know, our partners and see how we could move the cars and I think it's entirely possible, it's, you know, a lot of legwork, but it was, you know, something that we don't make the final call on.
Yeah, so I think if we're gonna, are people asking if we'll participate property that we own to support city initiatives, that's a good idea. You know, whether that's like makes sense as programmatically, that's not our fault. Right.
You can do it.
Additionally, the consolidated funding application, we would expect that the state would go live, with that within the next few weeks, as it does annually. I think pending budget approvals, and all of that business. Cassidy and Kaylee will be running point on that, continuing, for our organization to serve as the local liaison there for letters of support and municipal resolutions.
Has there been any projects that you've heard of that are looking forward?
I don't know about larger scale projects, right now.
Bit early in the season.
Yeah. There's typically city-led projects, the city always has, projects for, the Parks Grant and others that they wanna tee up. So there should be activity. I think at this point, we can mediate that part of the executive report out. Summary being a lot of things going on in all different angles, and we can move to the report of
Great. Well, that's a report of program activity. Any questions for me to staff?
Are we gonna go into executive session?
We will. I think we'll go to executive session, maybe to get a report of the Liberty Park Committee, because we'll get an update on litigation and things like that, and then we'll also discuss, other real estate initiatives and things that council advises me to discuss, right? Yeah.
And then for, the board appointments, at sort of the discussion of the board, if we wanted to go into an executive session, we could to discuss matters leading to the appointment, individuals.
Discuss that? We have a recommendation
The
of the,
recommendation of the governance committee, if you wanted to discuss the individuals, you could, if you could just do it.
that's great, so, and could we take them as one resolution?
There is one resolution.
All right, so, we have a recommendation, right, recommendation from the governance committee to consider 2 board appointments.
So moved.
We have a motion and we have a second. John, as chair, do you want to, second for Michael, do you want to give a review of what we're?
Sure, so 2 individuals, their bios are in the packet. Some of you may know 1 or 2 of them. We had 2 resignations, Abadan and Sonia, both resigned recently, and that created 2 vacancies. We really wanted to try and continue having a nexus to SUNY Albany. We think that's critical, and Abadan was nice enough to suggest some folks. So we looked at some bios, and I know Anders had lunch, and I think the collective feeling was it would be great to have a top person from SUNY Albany here, so that's one of your bios. And then Al Testa, I think the thinking there, in part, it's, he works for MBT. They've made a strong commitment to Albany. His background really lends itself to what we do generally, but also more specifically, his banking experience, I think, will help fill some of the void that's created by having Anders move on to being chair of the board. So Andy's time is somewhat constrained. So being able to tap into Al, I think is also really important to sort of the ongoing committee activities and board activities. So I think generally we feel pretty good about the caliber of person we're getting in both of these individuals.
Very strong standing. I think Al also is a native of Albany. He grew up in Albany as well. Has some good understanding of our city. Any further questions or commentary?
I think, again, I can speak very highly of Sheila. I think we're lucky to have her. I know her and have worked with her for a long time at Albany, so I think that's great. Having 3 bankers on the board might draw some attention, but I think I roll off in a couple of months or whenever something, you know what I mean? So having 3 out of 15, you just want to be aware of optics, but I think he's a great choice. So again, that's why I made the motion. I think it's great. I think it's great.
I appreciate that. I'm excited about both. I mean, the industries are really important, education and finance. And, Al as regional president, has an awareness of what's going on, for our community that's really important. And bring some sensitivity to that. You're right, there are a fair amount, this has been a board, that has had strong representation from the financial services sector, and I think that's served us well. I think going forward, we need, Sonia was such a strong director, and she did a couple things for us, but representing the small business community, I thought was super important, and giving us that sensitivity. And maybe as we continue to go forward, if seats are considered, we'll think about that. I also really appreciated her perspective in the North Albany corridor. Just trying to continue to find that balance, I think is great, but I'm excited about these two candidates. Any further discussion?
I just make two comments,
Yeah.
with the appointments of these two individuals, we will be at capacity for board seats. But we can expand the board, so if there is someone in the, similar to Sonia. That you feel strongly we should consider, by all means, we'd love to get those names and those individuals engaged. My other comment is, I don't think we're too finance heavy. So much of what we do, has a financial component and given the day jobs that you guys have, I think having 3 senior banker professionals on the board is critical, because we need at least one of you engaged at any given time, and that can be a challenge. So, I definitely think, I think your notion of rolling off the board is a bad one.
We're not accepting of that. This end of the table, the good end of the table is not accepting. Yeah, I started there, I went to the middle of the table, now I'm at this end of the table, closer to the door. I think Sheila also super important as this intersection we have. Actually, between the private sector, the public sector, finance. So having another person with sensitivities to state government and local government is really important, and a perspective from the university. I think that's great. And you could also say that we're heavy on government affairs people. I don't know if I would consider Michael and John government affairs people. They do much more than that, but we have a concentration there too. But it's super, super important. And so I think it's great rounding of the board. I appreciate that. We haven't taken a vote. Any further discussion?
I've known Sheila forever. She's awesome. She's great at this job.
Hearing no more discussion, all those in favor?
Bye.
Any opposed? Great, here you have some. Now, should we go for Liberty Park, should we go into, before we go to the committee update? Should we go into the executive session,
So the reason would be,
discuss litigation?
Basically, the employment history, the matters related to the appointment of a particular person or corporation, also the proposed acquisition, sale, lease of real property, the publicity of which would substantially affect the value thereof, and then also currently to discuss current litigation. So there's 3 independent parts of this.
All right, based on that,
Could you extend that to, pending real estate transactions currently unrelated to CAC? There's just a question that I think is relevant to us that needs to be an executive session.
Okay, we'll certainly consider that. Without knowing more, I don't want to opine on it, so you'll tell me a little bit and then I'll have to figure it out.
Yep.
Okay.
and if not, we can come out of executive
Yeah,
session.
and that will come out.
And we'll
Yes.
deal with it then.
Yep.
All right, that's perfect. All right, based upon that consideration, can I get a motion to go into?
Motion.
Second, please.
We're back on.
Great, so we have exited executive session, we're back in our formal session, no actions were taken.
But in our discussions, we're limited to the reasons that we went into executive session for.
Correct,
Yes, and no actions taken, as the chair said.
thank you. Are there any other matters to consider before we adjourn?
No, I think the only thing we had on the agenda was the financial disclosure forms. We have them all from everybody, so we wanted to note that we are compliant. We'll submit those before the deadline as planned. So thank you for all of you for bearing with us on our reminders. That's it.
Okay, great. Anything else from the group? The motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
All right, a second. Adjourn, we stand adjourned. Thank you all for your